Okay, we'll call to order the Committee of Whole Council meeting Monday, February 2nd, 2026. We'll start with the acknowledgement of treaties of peace and friendship. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq peoples. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which Wolastoqiyik, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1726. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. Thank you. Wolalan. Next is the oath of office. We do hereby accept the office of council and will diligently, faithfully, and impartially discharge to the best of our ability the duties of the office as may be imposed upon us by law. Next is the adoption of the agenda. I would like to have council add one, and that's the amendment to the bylaw for the proceedings of council.
I'd also like to add one, please, for future events under my name.
Okay, so we have those two additions. Are there any others? On the question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Oh, I'm sorry. Did we not do that? So can I get a mover for the agenda? The amendments?
M 2026-0202-14, that the agenda be adopted as amended with changes.
Can I get a seconder?
I'll second.
On the question, all those in favor say aye. All those against say nay. Motion passed. Any statements of conflicts of interest can be registered with the clerk. Presentations, petitions, and delegations. We have one from Beverly Knoll. I'd like to address council.
I would like to ask the councillors what you guys plan on doing in regards to these sanctions against the mayor. Like, those sanctions were imposed upon him, and the only thing that's been being followed is the financial aspect of it, where the village is actually deducting the pay. But the other two things that were to be carried out was an apology to Brenda Cormier, as well as taking training. So I'd like to know when that's going to be done. And if the mayor doesn't plan on doing that, then I think that his pay should be held back, or maybe he should just step down. And I think we do have a perfect opportunity tonight for him to make a public apology to Brenda. She's here. And the other thing that I wanted to know was why it is, Ron, that you resigned before your time was up as deputy mayor.
At the time, there was a relevant reason why, which I basically kept to myself, and there is a statement back when I resigned. But the other side of the coin is that, we had a term of 3 years left, I might say, but we have a term of 3 months left. So at the end of the day, it serves no purpose for me to kind of shake that tree and have issues. So at the end of the day, I'm going to keep the reasons to myself. And if it was anybody else's business, I'd say so, but it's not.
Well, the rumors that I heard, the reason that you had resigned was because you didn't want to have to stand up in regards to what was going on with the mayor.
Okay, first of all, I'm just going to read something to you that was given to me from CAO Lee. And just 1 second here. And CAO Lee, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But my understanding is that under the current presentations that there's no follow-up questions. Is that correct? Or if there is, can you just state it so that people know if there is or there isn't?
Yeah, it's not really laid out and prescribed in the bylaw. The inherent nature of how we do the presentations, obviously, you had approached in the Q&A session, but then we moved it into the, Bev had wanted it into the recorded, into the part of the, which is probably a good segue to your last question, into the recorded, into the the portion of the meeting where the minutes were taken. If you look at how that's sort of prescribed and how that's laid out in the bylaw, Beverly would need to provide her questions ahead of time. So I would suspect that council would be very limited in answering only those questions. So I would, for the questions that Bev submitted to the clerk's office, and again, Paul, you're the chair. You can sort of take leadership of that. But the questions that were asked are probably the best way for council to answer those.
Well, I'll just ask, Councilor Berg, are you finished answering that question? Okay. So why don't we move on to the last one?
So then in regards to the first question that I asked, like, I would like an answer from each one of the councilors as what you plan on doing in regards to that.
Well, here's another thing. I'm going to answer that.
I'm not asking you, though.
No,
I'm
but
asking you.
according to the bylaw, according to the presentations, it's the chair who answers. And no council member has given me anything to answer on their behalf in that regard. So no council member has given me anything.
Nobody has to give an answer to you to answer for us.
No, what I'm saying is that as the chairperson, I'm giving the answer. So if someone had something that they wanted me to present, I would, but I hadn't received any.
We don't have to give our presentation to you. If we want to comment on somebody's presentation, that's up to us to comment on somebody's presentation.
I'm just giving you what
Nobody
CAO, okay, well,
Nobody speaks through you.
what
Nobody
CAO sent me
elected Paul
on, I'm
Arsenault
just giving you what
to elect the
CAO,
rest of us to speak through you.
I'm just giving you what CAO Lee sent me on Friday. And I'm trying to follow that as best as possible. If council members wish to speak on their behalf, speak on your behalf, I will have my say.
Perfect. Would you like to have yours first?
No, I'm going to wait.
Okay. As for the sanctions imposed on Mayor Arsenault for code of conduct violations, that's public record, his remuneration was deducted. Can't say why. That's confidential. The apology to Brenda, he was asked multiple times to make it, and he refused to do so. The leadership training was set up for him. He refused to take that. Council chose not to hold him accountable and ensure that those sanctions were abided by. It requires a majority of council to do so. We've never had a majority to hold him accountable.
Anyone else?
So, Mr.
Cielo, would you like to correct Councillor Robinson on the training?
Sorry, on what? On the procedural bylaw?
On the training with Mr. Gagnon.
I'm not sure what it is that you want me to, it was,
The training took place.
oh, yes, that was, there was secondary training that was done. There was leadership training that was done as a result of a separate issue. But the leadership training, as far as I know, specific to the sanctions, was not completed. That was a separate, totally separate thing. But to your point about the
That was
procedural bylaw.
retraining.
I'm sorry?
That was retraining.
But as per your point about the procedural bylaw, the questions, it does state in it that the questions do go through the chair of the meeting.
I assume. Anyone else?
So there's none of, Mr. Burke, you wouldn't like to respond onto that, whether or not you would like to see the mayor follow through with these sanctions? No comment. No comment? Don, do you have a comment?
I wasn't here at that time, but there was a meeting back in, I think, 23, and I wasn't here.
So,
I'm only here, I think today might be January, 1 year. So I've heard all about it,
Yeah.
but at that time, I was not here. It was another counselor that was
yes,
here.
I do understand that,
Yeah.
but you are here now.
I am here now.
You would get a vote now.
I would get a vote now, and personally myself, and I'm not speaking just
Yeah, just
for the mayor, I'm only speaking for myself. I think that whether it be me or anyone else, I think if we're supposed to do something, we should follow through. That's my opinion.
Lillian, would you like to comment?
The sanctions were put out there. We thought they would get done. They just never got done, and then other things happened, and then it just fell. I guess it fell through the cracks. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Thank you.
So do you not think that maybe now is the time to get it done?
You can ask somebody to do something. If they don't do it, what can we do about it?
Well, yous can vote. Yous can vote.
We're too close to the end of our term. I'm not going to go into that any further than this.
Marilyn, would you like to comment?
It is unfortunate that they were not fulfilled. My understanding is on our part, we did our part with the sanctions towards the monetary. As an adult, you would hope that someone would be, do it that was expected of them and follow through on those, and that didn't happen, unfortunately. And it's on us as well for not following through. That's all I can say.
Don't you also think that when this does go to court, this here lawsuit, that there's going to be, punitive damages could be applied to this here, and it's the taxpayer of Baldoon that's going to have to pick up whatever monetary value that this lawsuit, what Brenda gets out of it, Brenda Cormier, it's the taxpayer. And I know myself, if I were in her shoes and someone was ordered to apologize to me and they didn't do it, that's also going to be something that she's going to be able to submit when this does hit court. As what the counselors did here, how much the counselors tried to have these sanctions taken care of.
Beverly, could I say something?
Absolutely.
Just on what you were saying right now. In any situation, if an apology is asked of someone, anyone they asked for an apology, it wasn't given. You can't force a person to apologize. How are you going to force them? Like if I had to apologize, say, to you for something, and I chose that I'm not going to apologize to you. How do you expect someone else to make me apologize? That's just my opinion, because they did ask.
In school, if I were going to school, I know when my
Yeah.
children got in trouble in school, especially my little boy Keith, if he would have been ordered to give someone an apology and they wouldn't have, they would have kicked him out of school.
But Beverly, we're not,
That's what they would have done.
but we're not children, we're adults.
Exactly. So
Okay.
when we can hold children to that type of accountability, why are we not holding adults to that accountability?
I can't force anyone.
No, but
I
you do
can't.
have a vote.
I have a vote, absolutely, but I can't force anyone
No.
to apologize to someone. I'm not God. I'm only me. I have an opinion,
So then
and
what
that's
I
it.
submit to the council is unless he does these, stop paying him. Stop paying him. He's the mayor. These were sanctions that I don't know. This was a closed meeting, which that in itself shouldn't have been. But did he not agree to these sanctions? Were you at the meeting, Cynthia? Were these sanctions agreed to?
They were agreed to by council, and they were imposed upon him. He chose to ignore them. And our procedural bylaw really doesn't allow us to do much beyond that. So council can enforce the sanctions to a degree, right? So you can demand an apology. He wasn't man enough to make it, I guess. And that's not,
Okay.
our
Do I get a
bylaw
chance?
didn't allow
Do I get a
us
chance to chime in
to,
a little bit?
no, my time is not up. Our bylaw didn't allow us to do anything past that. So that's, I don't know, I guess you impose them and you expect them to be adhered to. I don't know what our avenue was. Council chose not to pursue it. So I don't know if there was another legal avenue. We didn't pursue it further. And again, it would have taken a majority of council to pursue it further.
All right, we're getting close to the 15-minute limit, so I'm going to say my piece.
Well, it's my time, it's my 15 minutes.
You don't want my answer?
Well, I would, but I do have another question that I really do want answered. And that other question that I really do, and then you can
Okay.
take the time and answer it.
Okay.
Because you can take as much time as you want. Mine is
fine.
limited. My other question is what I would like to know is why the meeting is closed before a question period and why it's not live streamed.
Well, I can give you the answer that Sally passed to me this afternoon. We were going through this. I just simply had the proceedings of council's bylaw states as much. But he added, for the question on why the Q&A session is not live streamed, the municipality must take meetings minutes from call to order through to adjournment. And the Q&A is after adjournment, so meeting minutes and live streaming ends. The Q&A component is there as courtesy to the public to allow for council to answer general comments. It is not part of the meeting where minutes are taken. So that's the official answer on that.
Why is the live stream?
Because it's not part of any bylaw presently to keep it on, I guess would be the official answer to that.
Because listen to the question and answers as well.
I agree 100%.
So then why don't we have it that the live stream continues during question and answer period?
I would have no issue with that.
And if you'd like to respond now, Paul, to the other questions
Sure.
as to why you won't follow those sanctions,
I will.
I'd definitely be interested in hearing.
Okay. So I've been waiting for 3 years. I have an official statement. I've been waiting for 3 years to speak to the issue of the hiring of Montana and the sanctions imposed by the council of the day. But that wait is over. And tonight I've been speaking to both. Over the next few months, I will be making one of my primary goals to make certain that the truth surrounding the hiring of Montana and the sanctions imposed upon me by council and all the related circumstance that occurred before, during, and after these motions were approved is made public as is possible. As it pertains to the hiring of Montana, at the public meeting of January 23rd, 2023, a motion was approved by council. The title of that motion is M 2023-01-23-18. You can all read this motion in our minutes that are online, or you can watch the recording on our YouTube channel, and I hope you do. I encourage you. Go read it. Go see it. There was another motion made at the May 2nd, 2023 public meeting titled M 2023/05/02-94. Please feel free to go read these motions in our online minutes or go to a YouTube channel and view. I can tell you that I am categorically going to challenge both the legality and the legitimacy of M 2023-01/23-18. And should my challenge meet a successful conclusion, I expect it will profoundly impact 2023-05-02-94. That is in process. And that's as far as I'm willing to go at the moment. But there will be much more to come. So the challenge is coming. So, next. And your time is up.
So that's the reason why you won't.
Your
take
time is up.
leadership training?
I'm telling you once.
Wasn't an answer to the question. You're
I'm telling you, your time is up. Please return to your seat twice. Yeah, I'm good. I just gotta find my minutes. No, it's okay, Angela. Well, okay, if you want to hand that to me. Secondly, all right, so now we're at the business of council, and I have two. And, pardon me? Yeah, I've added the one for the, so the first one I have is the management letter of recommendations from Alan Piquette and Arsenal. This is for the 2021 audit. As stated earlier, for nearly 3 years, I've been waiting to address written and verbal comments made about me and former interim CEO Chris Kingston. Throughout those same years, I've been accused of some of the worst things a person can be accused of as a public servant. I had to watch as my family, my coworkers, people that I love and who love me, public servant colleagues, and government officials, and certainly not least the citizens of Baldoon area, view and read cruel and slanderous Facebook posts that accused me of being a workplace harasser, of being a bully, that I drove people out of their jobs and out of their positions on council, and even more hurtful, though not specifically related to council, that I was unfit to teach and carry out working in my career. All of which, by the way, is categorically unfounded and untrue. It wasn't that I didn't want to address these comments. It was that circumstance seemed not to allow me to do so. Well, as it turns out, events in the last few weeks and months have now made it possible for me to do so. I am not the person or mayor portrayed by these posts and verbal attacks, and neither is former interim CEO Chris Kingston, who is a good man and a longtime civil servant, and who was victim of some of the most vile and cynical bullying and intimidation and insubordination I've ever seen or ever heard of. And it took place right here in this building. All the while, his son-in-law was in palliative care, and his wife was suffering significant cognitive decline. It was heartbreaking to watch a man who simply wanted to come in and help a municipality that he loved to be treated in such a despicable manner. And I'll have plenty of more on that later as well. Chris and I have had to wait 3 years to have our story told, so you can now know the facts. And it is relevant, very relevant, when you consider past, present, and future litigation. For me, it begins in the spring of 2022, in the document that is being made public tonight. And I'll read from this document, give some initial thoughts about what is being written, and the action that CEO Kingston and I took at that time. And I'm going to leave that issue until the next meeting. So page 2 of this document that is dated April 25th, 2022. And the following is noted. Approval of expense reports. As stated in prior year, we noted that the records we tested, expense reports were not reviewed by anyone prior to being submitted for payment. The same was noticed during the current year testing. With no approval process in place, there is a risk that incorrect information is used to prepare payments to employees, resulting in an overpayment or underpayment on the village's behalf. We recommend that all timesheets and expense reports prepared by staff be required to be approved by a superior in their department prior to being issued. That was the expense reports. The reviewing of expense reports is crucial. If not, you risk what is highlighted in sentences 2, 3, and 4 of that paragraph, which is to say that with no approval process in place, there is a risk that incorrect information is used to prepare payments to employees, resulting in an overpayment or underpayment on the village's behalf. How many expense reports are being processed in a fiscal year? How much overpayment or underpayment is that risking? Does that constitute good and sound accounting practices? Then there was the procurement policy. As a result of our procedural interviews with management, we tested the village's compliance with its procurement policy. The village's policy outlines several expense levels and the steps needed to be followed within each level in order to have an expense approval. Our testing reviews that the policy was not being followed in mostly all instances, and that sufficient documentation was not always maintained. For example, when an expenditure level requiring 3 quotations to be obtained, we were not able to ascertain whether this procedure was followed or not, as no documentation could be found. We recommend the village's procurement policy be reviewed by those authorized to approve expenses. And for each level, that the policy is followed for all future expenses and documentation be kept in order to prove compliance with the village's current policy. For those of you who might not know what procurement policy means and how it affects municipal governments, here is a definition. A procurement policy is a formal set of guidelines, rules, procedures that govern how an organization acquires goods and services. It ensures that purchasing activities are consistent, transparent, ethical, and align with strategic goals while maintaining budgetary control and legal compliance. It defines, for example, authorized buyers, supplier selection, and approval thresholds. It is legislated. Municipal procurement policies come under legislation. While municipalities create their own specific purchasing bylaws, these policies are mandated and governed by higher level provincial or state legislation. If you go back to the third sentence, the paragraph under procurement policy, it states that the policy, which is legislation, was not being followed in nearly all instances. How does that happen? How is it that procurement policy during this testing period is not being followed by the people who are supposed to be following it? What cost did that have to the village of Beldoon? So, interestingly enough, it said, in conclusion, the books and records are in excellent condition, and it is evident that they are being maintained on a timely basis. So, that's dated April 22nd, 2022. Approximately 2 weeks later, Council hired Chris Kingston as the interim CAO, and eventually Chris and I got around to this document and its contents, and we were confused. On one hand, the document stated that as far as the expense approval of expense reports were not reviewed by anyone prior to being submitted for payment. As far as the procurement policy, the villages, our testing revealed that the policy was not being followed in mostly all instances. So when Chris and I got around to this document and its contents, we were confused. On one hand, the document was stating what I just mentioned, and on the other hand, it stated that expense reports were not reviewed and that the procurement policy was not being followed in almost all instances. And yet, the paragraph where the books and records are in excellent condition and evident that they're being maintained on a timely basis. So when Chris and I took a look at that, we were confused, but neither of us have an accounting background. But it seemed like a mixed message to us. So we wanted to get a better idea as to what this all meant. And so we booked a meeting with the people who would know. And I'll leave it there for now, and I'll pick it up in the next meeting. And that's my agenda. Anyone, council?
Is anybody going to say anything, or? Okay, I'll be the first one. Okay, so page 1, I'll just quote, "No significant deficiencies in internal controls were identified." Number 2, regarding approval of expense reports, when the auditor does the year-end books, he offers to interview all of council. Do you see anywhere, and staff, are there any opportunities for anything to go sideways in accounting procedures? We've all been asked those questions, I think, over 2 audits. So if anybody has any issues or concerns, they can raise them there. My recollection is that it was Clerk Treasurer Cormier who brought the expense sheets issue to the auditor. Those would go through the CAO for payment and then passed on to her. So that was an internal control she was actually looking for, not trying to sidestep. The procurement policy, that's an odd one for you to bring up. Policies and the procurement of goods and services are approved by council. So if there aren't 3 quotes being obtained, and again, that would be by the CAO, not by the clerk treasurer, she pays out the invoices once they're submitted and approved by council. In the number of years that we've been sitting here, and it says this issue was raised in prior years, so the previous council, I don't recall a whole lot of questions being raised during the financial statement section of every regular meeting. So I don't know where you were going with that one either. And I believe the only overpayment that I recall on any timesheets was corrected by Brenda, where someone was paid twice. And that was after she came back from a leave of absence that she caught that. Thank you very much, Brenda, because that was a lot of money. So I'm not sure what smoking gun you think you have there, but these were CAO responsibilities, and the accounting issue was brought to the attention of the auditor by the then clerk treasurer.
Anyone else on council? Okay, I'll have more next meeting. My next item is the amending of the regulation of the proceedings of council bylaw. Over the last few months, and in particular the last few weeks, I've had numerous citizens come up to me and say that they are shocked and saddened that our council has allowed our meetings to become what they have now become. Just this week, a concerned citizen, a reputable citizen, characterized our meetings of council as chaotic and falling into disrepute. On the weekend, another reputable and concerned citizen told me that our council should be ashamed for us allowing our meetings to become a circus act. Unfortunately, and in my opinion, they are all correct assessments. But in my opinion, they haven't begun to scratch the surface of what our council has allowed to happen. Because council has failed to address the problem, innocent people, innocent young people in our community with nothing to do with any of this have been hurt beyond description. Youngsters who don't deserve it. There's a little girl at Jacket River School who may be hearing some of the most disgusting things about loved ones that she holds in reverence and whom she loves. We have allowed someone to come in here and spew their hatred in our chambers and do this to her. Does that little girl deserve that? What did she do to deserve it?
What did my son do to
We are taking away this little girl's innocence, and that is not right. Another young person whom I had the pleasure of teaching at Jacket River School, and as one of the nicest kids you will ever meet, struggled for years to heal from the hurt and anguish that she felt. And finally last year was starting to heal and become a happy and joyful young person again. And that young person has to listen to this garbage about someone who loves coming from our chambers. This is coming from our chambers. Is she not allowed to heal? Is she not allowed to move forward? Vengeance and retaliation and defamation in the guise of validly seeking information is not to be condoned here. And it's not to be encouraged. 2 months, the amendment of a bylaw of proceedings to stop this from happening has been in front of us. Emails about possible amendments were sent out in early December. And in 2 months, not one impactful discussion by this council has been had. Let's get an amendment that stops this garbage and continual denigration of our public meetings. Do it, council. Get it done.
Can I speak, Paul? Okay. Prior to those 2 meetings, there was another meeting where I leaned over to you, and it was getting way out of hand in here, and I whispered to you, and I'm saying it right to your face. I said, are you going to let this go on as the chair, or are you going to stop it? And you told me you were going to let it go on. Now, I'm only going to speak to you, Paul, about me. Okay? I've known you all the days of my life. I've always respected you, and you know that. But it's not just the last 2 meetings. So I agree. Personally, for any of you people that know me, whether you know me or you don't, those that know me, I don't like, I'm an honest person. If you ask me a question, I'm going to try my best to answer you. I'm only going to answer for me. I don't like bashing people. I don't like hurting people. And I think this should have been stopped a long time ago. So I'm going to agree with you, Paul. It needs to stop. We're here for a meeting. We're here for the village. And if it does concern anybody, for me, by all means, say it. But I don't agree with just trying to deliberately hurt. That stuff, in my opinion, should remain outside these doors. This is for village meetings with issues that concern the village. If anybody has one-on-one issues, that's 100% up to you. But I don't think they should be drugged here. And that's what I have to say.
I'm just going to say something short here. This is happening after the meetings, not during our meeting, and I agree it shouldn't be happening in our chambers. Things shouldn't be, like what's outside of the council, it should not be brought into this council. I agree with that. But sometimes, you know, you need, people vent, and some people are able to get up and leave. And I guess maybe we should have just got up and left, but we stayed. But, you know, that's how it is.
And one thing I'll add on to your comments, because last March, and you had told me that, and I remember we had a in-camera meeting, and you had mentioned that, and I agreed with that. And that was last April. Yeah. And here we are, and still.
Yeah, I agree, Paul. It shouldn't be. It's not the place.
Okay.
No, we're not next. I still have something to say. Regarding the procedural bylaw, this has been an ongoing issue since our first month in council. This has been a ridiculous show since the very beginning. The issues you're talking about are after the closed session. You would like to not allow people to stand before council after a meeting and ask questions. The reason it's come to light is because Beverly is live streaming it. The general public doesn't know what anybody is saying after the meeting is closed. You already read from the bylaw that says the question period is not part of the regular meeting and is not broadcast, so that has nothing to do with the meeting itself. The procedural bylaw, as part of the mediation process from the government, was supposed to hire, well, they did. They hired and paid a consultant to revamp our procedural bylaw, and it never got done. 3 times I asked council to pressure government to get that done, and it never happened. Strategics Consulting was hired and paid to do that policy, that one specifically, code of conduct specifically. I think he did the procurement policy and started some weird strategic planning thing that went nowhere. So the procedural bylaw, we've been talking about amending that since we started. So this is nothing new. So 3-4 months left of our term, we're going to have 1 month of a bylaw that it's all reactionary, that it's like, oh, I don't like what's happening. People are asking questions, so we're going to remove that. Oh, I don't like this, so I'm going to remove that. Somebody professional and with knowledge needs to sit down and not have, I'm going to cherry pick how I'm going to gain power, because we tried to rewrite that one once through a separate lawyer, and it didn't work. So it needs to be methodically gone through. I don't think this council is the council to do it.
Well, I'll have the last word since it's mine. Very little of what you said is even relevant or makes sense to this issue, to be
No,
honest with
it's
you.
very relevant
I'll
and
have the
makes
last
sense.
word. But I will say this, we have an obligation, and even if we get it done now, so that the next council can start fresh and get it right, I think they'll appreciate that. So to say that we only have 3 or 4 months left, we're just going to allow this to continue, is beyond cynical, and it's a dereliction of duty as far as I'm concerned. So we need to get this done, period. And let's do it, finally. Next, do we have anything from administration? Oh, yeah, we have Councillor Carmichael with 2 items.
Well, this is kind of a little dull, but we'll go with it. I have 2 things. I want to just have a small summary of the CRSC meeting that I went on January 21st. I'm not going to go into details because the meeting is going on. The things that were discussed there, I think that the things, like they got a communication presentation of their new website. I asked Jennifer for the link. I'm not sure if Cynthia has it. I'd like to put that onto our messenger when I have it, and I will also send it to the council. There was a presentation on the finance for November. There was solid waste, roof replacement, recycling building that was also discussed at that meeting. There was overview on action plan, tourism portfolio, and overview planning department activities from 2024 to 2025, the updated design of municipal and rural plan for Bell Bay, Beldoon, and Shalor region. There was also tourism data 2025, and that. And that's pretty much it, with a few other little things, so it was quite a good meeting. But I think the website is very helpful because there's dates and everything. There's a lot of information that the people from the Shalor region and, well, I suppose Restigouche were on both sides here, could get for information. My second presentation is just the finance. I'm on the finance committee for the Renaissance Nursing Home in Dalhousie, and we discussed the budget that evening, and we also, the admin are asking to purchase a ice machine, so that we'll have to bring that to the regular meeting. And that's basically, that was about an hour or so meeting. So since I'm on council, I just want to let you know that I do attend a few meetings a year on that. So that's all for me. Thank you.
All right, so Marilyn, that's right, Marilyn, you have an item for us?
I actually just have what's happening in February in Beldoon. There's a few events happening that we'd like the community to engage in, and the first one is the Valentine's Breakfast. It is a community fundraiser for a local couple who suffered personal loss during a fire. So this fundraiser is Valentine Breakfast at the Beldoon Rec Center, February 14th, 9 to 12. And I'm encouraging everyone to come out and celebrate Valentine's Day and support this wonderful local couple. And the other event is actually on February 15th. It's to celebrate Family Day in Beldoon. We have a Family Day pancake brunch from 11 till 1. There's no charge for this. It's at the Beldoon Rec Center on February 15th from 11 till 1. So please come and enjoy. And finally, there will be a pickleball tournament on February 28th. This will also be a fundraiser for the couple. If you're interested in joining a team, please contact Mayor Paul Arsenault. He's organizing that one. So there are 3 big events coming up in February. I hope the community comes out and engages and supports. Thank you.
Can we get to adjourn? Can we get a motion to adjourn?
M 2026-0202-15, that the meeting is adjourned at 7:47.
Can I get a seconder?
I will second.
A question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passed. Meeting adjourned.